My mother-in-law labeled me as an insincere woman simply because I couldn't provide her with grandchildren. Hello again, it's me, Attorney Dill. You might recall the incident where Patricia, whom I've aptly nicknamed Piercing Patty, due to her relentless disregard for attorney-client confidentiality, forcefully entered my home office. She sifted through my case files and proceeded to discuss them casually during our lunch, which resulted in me being promptly ejected from the house. Do you remember me? Yes, it's ringing bells, isn't it? Greetings, old acquaintances. I've chosen to call her Piercing Patty, not only because of her blatant violation of attorney-client privilege, but also because her actual name is Patricia. Doesn't it feel satisfying to have your personal space invaded, Patty? My client was likely displeased as well. Recently, I decided to delete my social media posts because I genuinely enjoy my profession and wish to preserve it. However, you all probably grasped the situation from the previous paragraph. So, let's catch up. When was the last time you heard from me? I was earnestly attempting to forgive her because, until recently, she had been a reasonably decent mother-in-law. No, not quite decent, just sufficiently adequate. She was an adequate mother-in-law to me. But now, she's at the very top of my blacklist, closely followed by individuals who stick their chewed gum under tables and those who dislike dogs. This is the intricate saga of how Patricia and I ended up going no contact. It's an extensive story with numerous facets, so I might need to divide it into several posts. For brevity, I'll refer to Piercing Patty as PP. PP has a younger sister named Ale, who has a daughter named Tsila. Ale is a lovely woman, but our interactions are limited to courteous conversations every other Thanksgiving, so I wouldn't say we're particularly close. Ul and PP reside in a southern state, while DH and I live in a much larger, more bustling coastal city. Sil, Ul's daughter, is currently attending college in our city. She's exceptionally bright, and I've grown quite fond of her since we're her only family in the area. We have the pleasure of hosting her during extended weekends, especially around holidays like Martin Luther King Jr. Day, when a long weekend is delightful, but doesn't necessitate a trip back home for a busy college student. It's wonderful for her to have the convenience of doing laundry and having someone to discuss my guilty pleasure, celebrity gossip, with. We provide her with meals, and she occasionally walks our dog. Sometimes, I treat her to a petty indulgence, and then we send her back with freshly laundered clothes and some leftover food. Ul has expressed her gratitude for us opening our home to her daughter, and I assure her it's no trouble at all. After all, her child is simply wonderful. However, about 2 months ago, Sil was struck by a drunk driver while she was driving home from class. The accident was severe. Her car was mangled beyond recognition, resembling nothing more than a crumpled piece of paper. When I visited the tow yard to sort out insurance matters, and saw the extent of the damage to her vehicle, I felt completely devastated, as if the wind had been knocked out of me. We were incredibly fortunate. Sil only suffered a broken leg and a fractured wrist, but it could have been so much worse. Honestly, I find it impossible to discuss the accident without feeling intense, unadulterated anger. Naturally, Ul was in a state of panic and needed to see her daughter immediately. This part of the story is somewhat unverified, but the narrative goes that Ul was so emotionally overwhelmed by the incident that she requested PP's presence for support. In reality, it's more likely that PP invited herself along, and Ul, in her distressed state, couldn't refuse. After all, PP is her child, and it seemed like she had ulterior motives. All those times I thought I was being paranoid, I wasn't. Now, it's clear as day that PP is committed to this long con. I know this might not make sense to you all yet, but it will in my upcoming posts. DH and I arrived at the hospital first. We checked on Sil to ensure she was all right, with DH staying by her side while the doctors attended to her, and I handled the legal aspects. If you think you can drive drunk and cause a T-bone collision, thinking the only person who knows the names of all the Kardashians is your lawyer, think again. Ul and PP arrived in the late afternoon the next morning. They literally booked the next available flight out. I understand the urgency, but we did call to inform you all that Sil was essentially okay. Maybe you could have planned your trip more carefully. Where were you going to stay once you arrived? Naturally, Ul and PP expected it to be at my house. Why wouldn't it be? It's not like I banned PP from my home for breaking into my office, Doing so wouldn't get me in trouble with the state bar, or anything. But since Sil is in the hospital, I'm the one who needs to uphold my boundaries. Moving on to part 2, PP almost gets arrested twice. In part 3, we discuss the unforgivable act. Update 2, Piercing Patty nearly gets detained twice. To recap, there was a brief family reunion at the hospital involving Sil, DH, me and PP. Ul stormed into the hospital, mingling left and right, arranging pillows, speaking with doctors, and making necessary calls for her daughter's care. Meanwhile, PP sat in a corner, pretending to be exhausted. I say, pretending, because her performance was her comical attempt at acting tired, dramatically yawning, stretching her arms, and rubbing her eyes like a caricature of fatigue. It was clear she wanted to return home with DH and me. As soon as I saw Sil being attended to by her devoted mother, I was ready to leave. I felt drained. I signaled to DH using our secret cocktail party gesture to indicate it was time to get out, and we began putting on our coats. PP stopped us, audaciously asking, "What about me?" "What about you, PP?" For once, she wasn't the center of attention. "None of this is about you. Where am I supposed to stay? Don't you live in a fairy tale or something?" I paused, realizing it wasn't about me either. Ignoring PP entirely, I turned to Ul and inquired where she had intended to stay. Ul informed me she planned to stay at a hotel adjacent to the hospital, because she didn't rent a car, and wanted to remain close to her daughter. You know, like a normal person. So there you have it, PP. If your true intention was to support Ul, I suppose you'll be staying at that hotel as well. But, alas, logic doesn't shame a desperate schemer like Patty. Can I come home with you guys to rest for a few hours? DH gave me a knowing glance, understanding I was about to lose my temper. He gave me the go-ahead with his eyes. No, PP, I responded firmly. Ul needs help with her daughter, that's the sole reason you came, isn't it? I wasn't about to let her manipulate the situation. We skipped the 2017 holiday season with you, and now you want to come back into my house. Over my dead body, PP. Oh, Ul is fine without me for a few hours. I retorted. Then why did you even come? DH and I didn't have time to engage in back and forth banter all day. We had a lot of work to catch up on and were eager to return home. Oh, I'll just call a cab later, PP insisted. What do you kids call it? A cab. I shot back, you know damn well what it's called. I shoved you into one 6 months ago, so you could get to the airport. At this point, I realized what she was up to. I felt somewhat paranoid, but she continued to push and insist on returning to my home even after I had thrown her out. I decided to stand my ground. Well, if you need a place to nap for a couple of hours, then go check into your hotel, Patricia, I declared. Everyone has had a long night. DH knew she was almost completely unhinged, so he quietly put on his pants to deal with his mother. This was the best part. Before DH could even make the short drive to our gated community, PP went berserk. She stormed into the small booth where the guards were stationed, hurling objects like staplers, radios, and stationery. Some items even went airborne, and she managed to throw a few successfully. The guards informed me that she had made contact with one of them, resulting in a blow to the head. Clearly, they were calling the police. DH called me, urging me to come down, because they were about to arrest her. I protested, hoping she would at least call a lawyer. Okay, disclaimer. I love my husband dearly, and I don't feel comfortable leaving him to handle the police situation alone, I explained, bewildered by her audacity. What was she thinking? Simply showing up uninvited and causing chaos, what did she expect? Perhaps she believed that everyone would welcome her back into our home with open arms, sharing hugs and sipping hot tea together like idiots. In the end, DH managed to persuade the authorities not to press charges, because PP was thoroughly committed to her little old lady act. He then drove her back to the hotel, but that incident made her realize the drastic change in our relationship. I didn't even confront her at the gate. She had already lost control over me, both emotionally and physically. As we all know, this is the recipe for an extinction burst, an overreaction following a significant change. I realize this story has become quite lengthy, but I wanted to provide you with a comprehensive account of how things unfolded. I'll continue sharing more updates in the next posts, including how PP nearly got arrested twice, and the unforgivable thing she did. Stay tuned for part 2.5, where I'll delve deeper into PP's relentless attempts to reinsert herself into our lives despite my clear boundaries. Part 2.5. Update on Piercing Patty's second run-in with the law ***. Some of you expressed disappointment that I'm back here again, and I agree. I truly believed PP and I were on the mend, that we would be among the fortunate ones to survive a just no incident. I wanted to forgive her, but I needed time to heal. However, she didn't feel I was forgiving quickly enough, and for the past 6 months or so, has been trying to needle herself back into our lives. It began with her asking once a month if she could visit, then it became every week, and eventually, it turned into an almost daily chore to tell her no. You cannot stay with us, we aren't over what you did yet. It's like a scab, if you keep picking at me, I can never heal. Her presence in my home became the hill I was willing to die on. I never lied to protect her feelings, I never gave her the runaround. Every time she asked directly if she could come stay with us, I told her the truth. I do not trust you here anymore because of your actions. Yet, she persisted. So, after the hilarious gate incident, or as I call it, Gate, I found myself in an awkward position. I still wanted to visit Sil in the hospital and ensure Ul had all the support she needed, but I definitely didn't want to interact with PP. Alas, I went anyway because I love Sil more than I despise PP. Ul needed some rest after all the excitement had died down, so I told PP to return to the hotel while I took an evening shift with Sil. I brought Sil all her favorite junk foods and some fashion magazines. We were busy chatting about some boy she had been seeing and whether he liked her or vice versa, to be young again. Then PP walked in with the worst expression imaginable. It honestly chilled the room. I don't know how to accurately describe her face, but imagine if you spent all day at the salon, splurging on your stylist and colorist, and then came home to your husband saying, I liked it better before. Yeah, it would be that face. It was the kind of disdain only a woman could convey. Hey, you know what? This isn't about me. We are both here for Sil. I will just deflect to ease the tension. We can have World War III when we're not caring for a broken-leg college student. Hello, Patricia, I responded, not understanding why she was so formal. Like suck it, Dill. We aren't friends anymore, PP. What are you doing here? Sil. We're just hanging out. What are you doing here, PP? Where's Mom? Ul took a cab to Target. She packed so quickly that she forgot a few things. Seriously, is this what we are calling ride shares now? If I wasn't so annoyed with her, I'd find it endearing. Oh, I'm going to call her. Maybe she can pick up some personal items and some favorite snacks for me. Sil gets distracted calling her mom, so PP's full attention is on me now. PP, I don't know what I did to make you treat me like this, I said seriously. Because it happened not that long ago, you broke into my office and compromised my client's privacy. That's what you did. Do you really not remember? I'm actually incredulous, PP. Are you still mad about that? I said sorry. Yeah, it's kind of a big deal, Patricia. You can say sorry until you're blue in the face, but I am not forgetting. That happened. You could have really messed things up for me and DH. Well, you can't keep me out of your life forever. I'm DH's mother. I have a right to be in his house. He only owns half of that house. Which half do you want access to, the left half or the right half? How many ways I could pronounce her name by emphasizing different syllables is a new fun game I play. PP, I would never speak to my mother-in-law that way. You don't have a mother-in-law, so like the top half or the bottom half. We could quarter the home, and you could just stay in 2 quadrants at a time, or Sil gets off the phone with her mom. PP, Sil, I came to bring you dinner. She hands over a bag of McDonald's. Oh, no thanks. I'm kind of full from the stuff your mother-in-law brought you. You can just leave it there. I'll have some later. Well, I can't do anything right, can I? Your mother-in-law gets to do everything, and I can't do anything. Sil gets the most bewildered look on her face. PP, go ahead and ruin your body with that junk. She points to the pile of snacks I brought. I am a mother. I know you need real food to get better. Chill, lady. Chicken nuggets do not have medicinal properties. Mother-in-law is not even a mother. She will never be a mother. She couldn't do what I did. Where woo, woo. Okay, this thing just turned into another argument at this point. Sil is tearing up a bit. I mean, she's being yelled at for not eating McDonald's, and she's scared. I feel bad, because I know that PP's anger is directed towards me, so I get up to leave, because I didn't want Sil to have to bear my burden. I'm gathering my things when PP tosses a big gulp-sized cup full of McDonald's Coke at me. Okay, first of all, this purse is Eve Street leather, so you're basically dead to me for getting the leather wet, and second, you were being so loud a second ago that a nurse poked her head in and saw you assault me with your refreshing beverage and called security. Sil yells at PP to stop. Security comes in, and Sil begs them to make her leave. I'm already on my way out, because I need to mourn the collateral damage of war that is my expensive handbag. Then it happens, she lunges at me, not to hit me but to get closer, to point in my face and yell some more. However, that is not how security interpreted the situation, and they armbarred her so hard she fell on her ass. She got told that if she did not leave immediately, they were calling the police. True to her new modus operandi, she grabbed one of those pink plastic cups that was on Sil's bedside table and threw it at one of the security guards, before making a swift exit from the hospital before they could arrest her. I honestly didn't think she was in any shape to run, but hey, I've been wrong before. She was impressively fast. Part 3, The Unforgivable Thing ***. The most heartbreaking part of this ordeal was when PP uttered the unforgivable thing. I am deeply touched by everyone who participated in the "I am not a real woman" because movement in the comments. It was an incredible show of solidarity for me and those who struggle with infertility. I had never considered myself an unreal woman, even when I received the diagnosis from my doctor. I saw it more as a scar, or a hair color, just a characteristic of my body that I couldn't change, so I wasn't ashamed of it. When PP said the unforgivable thing to me, it was the first time since the diagnosis that I felt so small, as if someone was informing me for the first time that this was something to be deeply embarrassed about, and that I should lament for the rest of my life over the injustice. Well, I don't, and I'm not. I have thousands of friends on the internet who make me feel 10 feet tall. I don't fit into your little boxy definition of what a woman is, and that's okay, because your approval would destroy me. You guys crack me up. Okay, in order of most asked, although I wouldn't say it was in order of importance, I will answer the following. I had my bag cut, dyed, and ruined. The YSL bag survived, but it will never be the same. Sil is doing fine. She is set to make a full physical recovery, although I think she is still very frightened to drive by herself. I know it gives her anxiety to do simple things like run to the store, poor girl. Last we left off, I was driving my way back home to DH. I got home, explained what happened, and then went into my closet, plucked my purses off their shelves one by one until I found the right one. I dug into the unlined pocket, lit up one of my emergency cigarettes, and took a long, deep drag. I was so angry and so humiliated. PP splashed a drink in my face. Did I get my own show on the E! Network? If so, when's the check coming? I got bags to replace. DH comes in and holds me for a bit, we talk. I'm still trying to understand why she is acting like this. It's very, very aggressive compared to her past behavior. She's usually just extremely annoying. The physical escalation has me very worried. I start to think maybe it is a brain tumor. I will later learn that her only diagnosis is that she is an asshat. DH calls his mom and sets up a meeting. She tries to tell her side of the story, but it's honestly so absurd that nothing makes sense, and he ends up being even more confused after she tries to explain what happened. We absolutely cannot go on like this. As luck would have it, Ul, who is now furious at PP for yelling at her infirmed daughter, has kicked her out of the hotel room they shared. Now, PP has booked a flight back to the southern state, because she has nowhere to stay. Don't look at me. The flight leaves tomorrow evening, so we plan to have lunch before we drop her off at the airport. Before I get to lunch, I want to share something with you all. DH and I have been childless, not necessarily child-free, but we enjoy traveling, going to bars until late at night, and engaging in exclusively adult activities. It was a lifestyle that worked for us for a long time, but in the last year or so, I've been contemplating that maybe I didn't need 2 guest rooms, and that one of them could make a nice nursery. You know, we weren't actively trying, but we weren't not trying either. If it happens, it happens. Well, nothing happened for a long time. I became insecure and suspicious. Long story short, the doctor said it's me. It's fine. Don't do the sympathy thing. It makes me feel like I should be sadder than I am, and I'm not sad. Okay, that's a lie. I was sad for like a second, but to be honest, the not knowing was worse. Now I can plan on doing what I always wanted to do, fostering or adopting. No skin off my back. Now, back to lunch. Lord help us all. I have court in the morning, so I can't provide you with a verbatim transcript, but the gist is this: PP has not saved for retirement like at all. She works at a job that pays average, but theoretically, would have an amazing retirement plan. However, taking advantage of this retirement plan would require foresight. I guess she just planned to work until she was dead. But then DH put himself through school, got an amazing career, and married a wife who also works. Now, we are so affluent that, of course, we would want to raise PP as our own. The end. Just kidding, not the end, so much. Not the end, all the not the ends. We haven't even started this delusional crumb thought that when we were ready to have kids, she would move in with us and take care of the baby. That was her retirement plan. So now that we know we aren't going to have any biological kids, and that the fostering to adopt option may involve adopting older kids, who don't need a full-time granny helping out, she has lost her retirement plan in her head all along. I was going to beg her back into my home, because a newborn was going to be more than I could bear alone. She was just waiting me out. I was going to grub her, she was sure. I guess she really snapped when DH told her we weren't going to have kids. It kind of solidified that she may never be allowed back into the home, at least not via her retirement plan or nanny gig, and she became desperate to get into my house, because she viewed it as the home where she would spend her twilight years. I wouldn't even let you spend the duration of the Twilight movie in my house with that dumbass idea. Okay, side note, she's also in her early 50s and in reasonably good health. I mean, I just saw you run like using Bolt from 2 hospital security guards. So I don't think now is an appropriate retirement age for you. You've got a few tax-paying years left. I was kind of stunned at lunch, so I didn't say much. DH was panicked, because he knows it will fall on him to figure it out for her, but we both agreed that this was absolutely never going to happen. It's amazing how you've been with someone so long, that you can convey that entire message in nothing but a glance. DH told her flatly, "Mom, you cannot live with us. We like our life as it is, and we don't think it's a good idea to be sharing our home." And then, as if on cue, she starts crying uncontrollably, loud, heaving sobs. LOL, whatever, bro, keep your crocodile tears away from my club sandwich. It's got 3 slices of bread, so this is a celebration sandwich. I'm not going to let you ruin a 3-slice day for me. And then she says the unforgivable thing: if your wife was a real woman, I wouldn't have to live on the streets in my old age. Okay, I'm going to need a 4th slice of bread. You just turned my happy sandwich into a sad sandwich. Ouch. I'm a real woman. That statement really hurt my feelings for some reason. Usually, when she talks, I just let the words roll right past me, but this was an act of war. You can't just violate the Geneva Convention like that and expect no retaliation. I kept eating my tiny triangles. Why do they always cut club sandwiches into tiny triangles? I was going to take a beat to address the horrific thing she just said to me. I don't respond to attacks until I know that I can articulately stand up for myself, but the shock left me a little weak. I felt tears welling up in my eyes, and I knew the next time I blinked, I'd be crying all of a sudden. I'm putting on my jacket, and now my arm is getting yanked, and now DH is throwing cash haphazard onto the table. Ah, my tiny triangles, I wasn't done, and now I'm in the car. We never responded. We never even said anything to defend ourselves. He shut my passenger side door, and I cried harder than I remembered crying in a long time. I knew we were done. I cried because I was relieved. I really thought he'd choose to help her, because she was his mother. I thought I was going to have to help retire her one day if I wanted to stay with him, but she did the unforgivable thing, and now we are both off the hook, yay for us, and she got to the airport. TBH, she probably took a cab. I never thought about that before I started typing the story out, huh? When we got home, I told him, no more. She's blocked me on everything, and I told the gate guards to call the police immediately if she shows up again. Don't even notify me. She needs to get her own phone plan. Any trips to the southern state will not be attended by me. All the money we were giving her was going to stop. He can send her whatever he wants from his discretionary budget, but I wasn't going to send her any of my own wonky WB money. I'm a real woman. Goddamn, I don't need to shoot a baby out of my vagina to know that you can suck my dick, Patricia. No contact, full stop. I don't have any more updates for you guys. That was months ago, and her name isn't even whispered in my house. DH doesn't talk about her, although I'm sure she's been begging him for more money. I don't think about her unless I am feeding llamas, and all we are concentrating on is getting approved to be foster parents. I hope my kid marries an attorney when Sil grows up, so I can relive this saga step by step from the other perspective. Ha 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 ha. I've been tossing fountain drinks at dartboards for practice. The original poster literally posted a whole saga of stories. These are some of the other stories the OP posted. Asterisk asterisk update 4. Piercing Patty, and my engagement ring asterisk asterisk. A few of you requested some backstories about Piercing Patty, aka Patricia, after my last odyssey on her journey to no contact. This is hilarious for 2 reasons. 1, you know there definitely existed Becky, and 2, you knew it'd be good enough to retell. Someone recently made a post about a class ring on here, and it reminded me of my engagement ring pissing contest with PP. This isn't a full meal, llamas, but that's okay, because it's bikini season, and all we need is a light snack and a cold sangria. Immediately following my law school graduation, DH, and I took a long weekend getaway. I'm serious about the immediate part. I basically walked across that stage, took some pictures with my family, we met at a local restaurant for a meal and some champagne, and I left for the trip still wearing the most expensive outfit I own, my graduation gown. Oh God, the student loans. We couldn't go anywhere far, because I needed to begin preparing for the bar exam the very next Monday, so a weekend was all I could spare to celebrate. DH drove us to a sleepy coastal town, and we stayed at one of those B&Bs that have seashell soaps in the bathroom. We spent the entire weekend sleeping in and letting the warmth of the sun wake us, having late-night dinners in dimly lit restaurants, over good wine and hushed whispers, and inevitably arguing whether the seashell soaps were for decoration or utility. It was one of the most romantic trips of my life. On Saturday night, after we had one of the funniest seafood meals of our lives, 2 drunk kids with plastic bibs and crab mallets, we took a walk along the beach to relax a little more before driving back the next day. The sun was just setting, and the breeze was perfect. I guess DH couldn't wait any longer, so he popped the question. Except he wasn't planning on proposing, at least not that weekend. It was always an eventual situation for us, but I didn't really pressure him, and we always had the whole sure when we finish school mentality. But the weekend was just too perfect, and I had literally just finished school, so it was kind of up. He wouldn't wait a moment longer. Now, being how it was, so spontaneous, he didn't have a ring for me, he just slipped off his class ring and proposed with it. I was so happy, you guys, not because I get to marry the love of my life, but because DH ordered his class ring a few sizes too small and wore it on his pinky. I always thought I made him look like a 1970s pimp. Ha ha ha. Him giving me his ring took care of the fashion faux pas, and it had the added bonus of me being engaged. We called our parents and received the appropriate reactions, minus PP wanting to come see us right away, and kind of forgetting that we were engaged, because I was studying for the bar. Once I was done with that horrid exam, I felt giddy, the whole blushing bride thing hit me like a ton of bricks. I was nearing 30 when I finished law school. There was no reason for me to be giggling that much. Finally, I wasn't such a mean bookworm anymore, and that meant that PP could visit us, because from the moment we told her we were engaged, she was begging to come visit us so we could all celebrate together. So PP comes to town and, without any polite small talk, asks to see the ring. I flash it quickly, because I know this isn't my real engagement ring. So I try not to show it off too much, knowing that it will confuse people when I get my actual ring. The class ring was just a spur-of-the-moment ring, and what PP didn't know was that after we got back from the trip, DH took me to a jeweler to pick out what I wanted. Turns out, I didn't want any of them, and in my high-maintenance glory, I got to pick out my own stone and design my own setting. Oh boy, was I glad he didn't plan his proposal. Making my ring was so fun, but it would take months to complete. I still planned to wear DH's class ring around a necklace, though, it was so sentimental to me. But this is where PP comes in. So, we're on our way home from the airport and stop for lunch. PP asks to see the ring again, and I show her, thinking that she's just excited her son's getting married, but no, she asks to try it on. I'm like, maybe later. I'm only human. My spine had to grow one pant leg at a time. During her week with us, she kept asking and asking if I was doing the dishes. She would say, "Oh, you don't want to scratch that beautiful ring. Take it off, and I'll wear it so you don't lose it. I promise I'll give it back." And then she did this laugh thing that's not exactly a giggle, and not exactly a cackle either. She laughed. I was so weirded out. I wasn't even annoyed, it was just strange. I knew we were playing a game, but I didn't know what the rules were. I mean, you guys know what a class ring looks like, don't you? Especially a man's one. Nothing like an engagement ring. It's very masculine. The band and mount usually have engraving, or a stamp of the graduation year. The stone set into it is usually a dark-colored semi-precious one. It was a cool-looking ring, but not something I'd consider bridal. So, the only explanation I could muster was she wanted to wear it, because it came from her son. Why? You, again? Do you want to be engaged to your son? PP, barf. So, all week, I had to guard my ring like it was my pre-shift. I honestly didn't even take it off when I slept, because I wasn't sure she wasn't going to sneak into our bedroom and slip it on to spite me. I know it sounds paranoid, but PP would not let up with her insistence that she'd be able to try the class ring on. I felt like I was at Guantanamo. She was asking me about it so relentlessly. But as you all know, if you play games, you will win prizes. Toward the end of her stay at the hotel, the mother-in-law showed up. My jeweler called, and my ring was finally ready. Yay! I had been waiting for what felt like an eternity, so we told PP we needed to run an errand real quick, and to watch some Netflix while we were gone. I deliberately left the ring on my nightstand, knowing that I was just swimming in shark-infested waters. We picked up my ring, and it was perfect, a tasteful 1.5-carat oval set in a rose gold paved double band with two little birthstones, mine and DH's, set on the inside. The ring really felt like mine and no one else's, because I got to design it, including the little birthstone secret we put in. So, we got home, and PP is on our couch watching TV. She turns to us and waves, "Hello. I'm entering my own home. Why would you wave to me?" Yes, to bring attention to the fact that you are wearing the class ring. Ha ha. Now, keep in mind, she didn't know we were going to pick up my engagement ring. She didn't even know we had another one made, because DH doesn't think to talk about stuff like that with his mother. I felt petty all week, so I walked right over to her, grabbed her hand. She was wearing the ring on her left hand, by the way, and then, with my right hand, took an amused look at the ring. You ladies know the one, where you lightly grab your friend's fingers when they show you their new ring. She's looking kind of smug now, thinking she's under my skin. She is holding eye contact with me like, "What's your next move?" So, as I am holding her left hand with my right, I dragged my left hand down her forearm until she hears a clink, clink, clink. It was the sound of metal on metal. She looks down, and bam, I am wearing a brand new diamond engagement ring. Her son paid for it, it just came from the jeweler. So, this thing is refractive AF. Mother-in-law hasn't had the opportunity to get any Cheeto powder into the crevices yet, baby. Her eyes widen, and this is the moment she knew I was a formidable enemy. I smiled and said, "That ring looks gorgeous on you. Why don't you keep it? It's worth almost nothing anyway." Huh? What's DH going to do, be mad at me for giving his mother a free ring? I came out smelling like roses. Thank you. Goodbye, PP. By the way, she left the ring on my dresser when she left. It was never about the ring. I got engaged to her son, and she wanted to assert her dominance in his life. She didn't anticipate that I had seen Mean Girls like 17 times and could out-Regina her any day. I still wear the class ring on a necklace sometimes, but I will not let DH have it back, because when he puts it on his pinky, he develops a fake Italian accent and tries to emulate Godfather-style gangsters. Bada bing, bada boom, the witch flew back to the southern state on her broom. Asterisk asterisk update 5. Piercing Patty, on my wedding day asterisk asterisk. So, this story is a bit of a throwback, and I didn't even recognize it as being truly significant, until I started lurking here from my perspective at the time. It was an honest oversight, but as we know, in no contact land, it's absolutely deliberate, and it's your fault if you call them out, and also your fault if you ignore their behavior for attention. So, away we go back to the year 20XX, and today is my wedding day. PP had not been heavily involved with wedding planning, but to be honest, neither was I. I hired a friend I knew from college who I trusted. I forwarded her some inspiration boards and then promptly left, because I had no business wedding planning at that stage in my career. Sure, I did the important stuff like food tasting and touring venues, but the details, the nitty-gritty stuff, was handled via her texting me 2 photos and me texting back, first one or second one. If you have someone you truly, super duper, absolutely, utterly trust, Dill, this method of wedding planning as 1010 would recommend. So, in a way, my wedding was kind of like an extreme version of a surprise party. I mean, there was no other way to do it. Unfortunately, I was working 70-hour weeks as a young associate, paying off my enormous student loan debt as a new graduate, and trying to elbow my way into a very exclusive good old boys club at work. I just didn't care whether we had peonies or lilies. Just kidding, I totally care about lilies, but you guys get it. I didn't have a lot of room to let PP into the process, because I just wasn't the involved bride. She wanted to be, as you know, grounds for punishment, although I didn't know it yet. PP was going to get me back. She thought she was so slick. If I wasn't going to involve her, she wasn't going to involve me, so I had no idea what she was wearing to my wedding. Everybody knows where this story is going. This scenario has less foreshadowing and surprise than a Nicholas Sparks novel. Now, before I tell all you llamas what you already know, let me give you an in-depth look into myself that I hadn't shared already, because I didn't want to be. ID. No, I'm not sure I was born in America, but my parents are immigrants, and they raised me to not lose my sense of culture from our homeland. That was all a long-winded way of telling you guys that brides from our homeland were red on their wedding day. I think it's a beautiful tradition, and I wanted to emulate my ancestors on my wedding day by wearing a red traditional dress instead of the westernized white gown. Plus, between you and me, guys, I just look a lot better in red than I do in white, so that's also kind of why I did it. Thank baby Jesus, I had a second culture that had traditions that didn't wash out my skin tone. Prayer hands emoji. So, I'm getting hair and makeup done, and the photographer is taking all kinds of boy shots. The whole hotel suite is buzzing with activity when suddenly, PP pops in. What are you doing here? My tits are out. Go away. Please, I said. Fine, I'll cover my nipples, but only one, you can pick left or right. Well, if you're embarrassed, PP, then you should probably not show up to bridal suites without being invited. GR. PP makes a big show of wanting to see me before the wedding and showing me her dress. I'm like, cool, I get it. You only have sons, and you want to do a pre-wedding moment with a daughter, but can we do this a bit later? I'm kind of in the middle of something here. No, it's right now, or no other option. It's going to be right now, because my name is Patty, and I'm the center of the universe. I waved her off and basically spouted something along the lines of, sure, put it on and let me see it. It was a white wedding dress. It wasn't a straight-up ball gown like I've seen some mothers-in-law wear on this sub, but it was definitely a wedding dress for an older bride. Think I'm on my 4th wedding, but I've only had 2 grooms. Vibes below the knee length with lots of beads and lace, a keyhole back, a rhinestone inch belt. I was so blind I had no idea what she was up to, llamas. I thought she looked nice, and was actually kind of relieved she wasn't going to show up in something more QVC-like. It was, by all accounts, an elegant dress, as if she wanted to remarry someone else. Now, that your first husband confirmed his years-long affair with his receptionist, I smiled at PP and told her she looked stunning and asked if she would like to see me in my dress. I thought we were bonding, poor naive mother-in-law. PP said yes, and so I went to the other room with my mom so she could help me into my dress. We emerged victorious. I thought I shined up like a new penny. I had never before or since felt that beautiful. Everyone in that room was tearing up and gushing, but my photographer sent me some shots of PP's face looking like she just stepped in dog poo with her new Manolo Blahniks. I mean, her face was bad. I had to blur the background on some and crop her out completely for a few of the shots. PP had no idea I was going traditional with my dress. It never even occurred to her that wedding dresses could be in any color but white. Yeah, they can, you ethnocentric. She was trying to upstage me, but due to her inability to Google my homeland, she kind of just looked like a jackass. How could she tantrum? Though, it would require that she admit she was trying to piss off the bride. The situation was so good and juicy, I was mad I didn't even plan it, not that I planned anything that day. LOL. Bonus, in our homeland, you actually wear white to funerals. My grandma, God bless her heart, doesn't speak much English since she loves to learn about American traditions so much she thought everyone else would like to learn about her traditions too. She was just trying to make small talk with her new family-in-law by informing PP of our culture. What Grandma meant to say to PP was, in my country, we wear white to funerals. What actually came out of her sweet, adorable mouth was, you look dead. I died when I heard this story from a cousin. Ha 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 ha. Honestly, when I think about it sometimes, it still makes me weep with laughter. And that's how PP tried to ruin my wedding but didn't, and also couldn't complain about it without looking like a psychopath who tried to ruin a wedding. The end.